Well, hey, I'm Matthew Kemps. I'm a co-founder of Lone Wolf Realty Group at Spyglass Realty, and this is
Matt Kirschling with Gold Star Mortgage, changing up my outfit today to look like a home inspector.
this is two Matts, one market. All right, Matt. Since we're on the topic of home inspectors,
Yeah, that's
w-
always a good one.
let's I don't know where I was going with that one, but yeah, let's go into home inspections.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a topic we haven't really touched on.
No, it is. What are you seeing? What pop up on inspections that are requirements on certain loans
Mm-hmm.
that people should know about before going through the home buying process?
Yeah, we've talked about this in regards to the appraisal. So I like that you brought this up because I get asked sometimes by clients and even sometimes by real estate agents if we have to be made aware of the actual like home inspection, and we don't. In fact, I don't really want to see it. I don't want to know anything about it. I'm not saying don't do a home inspection. Go ahead and do it, but I'm not concerned about the results of it. But when you have a home inspection, there might be some things that are pointed out that the appraiser could notate. It wouldn't be as many as you would think, though. It's kind of surprising. Everybody has a bad experience of a situation where sometimes, we're getting close to closing, the appraisal gets completed, and then all of a sudden the appraiser notates that something needs to be repaired. And the big misconception is, well, conventional is going to pretty much let anything go, and FHA is going to say nothing's going to go. And I see a lot of times where people don't want to, accept FHA because of that. So the main thing that is going to get, notated as far as things you might find on an inspection that could create an issue on the lending side of things is really going to be anything that an appraiser is going to deem a health or safety issue.
Okay.
And so the main one, and I don't see a lot of it out here, and I think you know the answer to this, I can't remember the year, but is chipping and peeling paint if the home is built 1978 or sooner, because then it holds the possibility that it has lead-based paint.
Or no, 1978 or older.
Right, or older, excuse me. So, automatically if the home is 1978 or older and you're seeing chipping and peeling paint, chances are that's going to have to be scraped and painted. So that's the first one I always tell people. If it's built after 1978, you got nothing to worry about in regards to that. The other one that I see a lot of that requires any kind of issues is, anything that is bare electrical wires. One of the things that I also let everybody know is like a house, you have to be able to, we're not super PC. You have to be able to shit, shower, and shave in a house, right? So if there's no bathrooms,
Yep.
that's a health issue. If there's no water available or there's no way to get water, that's an issue. And then one that seems to surprise people because Texas can be so hot all the time. You don't have to have air conditioning, but you have to have heat.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had instances where people have non-working furnaces that have created an issue. I've had instances where people have like plug-in radiators that are heating their house. That's not considered like a in-home heating system.
Yep.
So that's another one that I see. Outside of that, I feel like everything else is pretty self-explanatory, right? Like, and it is kind of shocking. Like, I've seen instances where there's like huge holes in roofs and it's actively leaking, and they're like, "Why are we getting notated for this? This is a conventional loan." I'm like, "No, man." Like, but one I do get asked a lot that isn't an issue is not the flooring's missing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like a lot of homes in Austin are built on slabs. We don't. Well, we still, I guess we see pier and beam.
I'm dealing with one right now.
On a slab.
No, pier and beam.
Pier and beam. Well, and again, if the floor is like missing in respect to like there's a hole in the floor, like you will fall in a hole, that is not okay. But we've done loans for homes where, we've got plywood on the floor and they're planning on, obviously eventually we're going to do some sort of either tile or why can't I think of what it's called? Those fake hardwood floors, laminate flooring. We're not going to say, oh, flooring needs to be brought in, because although plywood, like not the most aesthetically pleasing, it
does a purpose.
Yeah, it's not a health or safety issue.
Yeah.
Like if you want to live in a plywood home floor, like we're not going to stop you. For all I know, maybe that's your style. But I get a lot of that. Like, oh, the flooring's completely ripped up. Like, is that going to be a problem? No. But yeah, I mean, going back to some of the other things I said, like, yeah, if you got bare wires hanging out, electrical wires that are live, or even if electricity's turned off, and just think about like, would you leave your 2-year-old in this house? And if so, like, are there anything like bare wires or holes in the floor or hole in the roof that, is going to create major issues? Then, yeah, you're probably going to get notated on something like that.
Another one that popped up last week. I actually never even knew this. Do you know the 1971 rule with mobile homes?
Mm-mm.
I could be totally wrong. This is what I heard off of a podcast I was listening to.
Okay.
I did not know that 1971 mobile homes were uninsurable. If you're built before 1971, they're not insurable.
I don't know. I mean, that would be an insurance question, but
Becca Ponce Goosehead, I need you to give us an answer.
yeah, I mean, I would think that here's what I can almost guarantee the answer is. It's like 99.9% of insurance companies don't want to insure anything that's over a certain amount of years old.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure there's that one or two insurance company that'll charge you an arm and a leg to insure it.
Yeah.
So I would think rule of thumb is like, yeah, if it's built before, and I bet that year will continue to change
through time. Yeah.
I mean, these mobile homes and nowadays they're being built a lot better. But there was a while there I was working for a mortgage company where we considered ourselves like manufactured home specialists. We were doing a lot of them. It was not something I enjoyed, but that was the
got the bills paid.
Got the bills paid, and the builds of these homes have gotten a lot better. That's for sure. But when these things come in on a truck, they're just not built as a site-built home. I mean, it's just the way that it is. And so,
what makes them site-built?
Well, I mean, a site-built home is going to be a home that's you're putting it on a permanent foundation, and the materials are being brought to the location and being built. And so, I think one of the major things is like if it came in on a truck, it could probably leave on a truck.
Mm-hmm.
So,
on the real estate side of things, do you know how to comp a mobile home and what the differences can be
with other mobile homes? I mean, I would.
And there's another factor that goes into play.
Okay.
If it's tied down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we require that in the lending side of things. I mean, we require that it's on a permanent foundation. Tie downs, if it's considered manufactured, we can get away with no tie downs as long as an engineer can say that it's on a permanent foundation and then it's not going anywhere. But tie downs is definitely preferred.
And especially on our side, it can be tied down whether it's on a rental land or it's on the land they own. But when we comp that, like say for example, there might be one where the guy owns the land next door, and it's comped at 190 to 210. But the one right next door to that, they're renting the land, and we can only comp it like 65, 70,000.
Yeah,
it makes it really hard to comp.
Well, sure. I mean, the thing for me, this is my controversial take on manufactured homes. It's like, for me, the only time a manufactured home actually like makes true sense is in the event that somebody purchases land in a rural area, and it is very, very difficult to build an actual permanent home because of just the ruralness and the distance that's associated with the piece of property that this mobile home is being put on, because we see a lot of them in the Pacific Northwest. People who want to have these like beautiful views of the Pacific Ocean, like Washington, Oregon, and it's very difficult to get cement trucks and all of the supplies and everything that's required. And these people want to purchase these properties with the intentions of being in a rural area. And the funny thing is like I think most people when they think manufactured or mobile home, they think of like the Beverly Hillbillies. And a lot of these people that are purchasing on these really, really nice pieces of land, I mean, they're spending an arm and a leg for this land because they really want to live in, the middle of nowhere with these beautiful views. And that I can kind of get behind. I understand the whole need behind that. The part that always kind of makes me scratch my head is like eventually when things become a little more urban and you see people that are, buying these manufactured and or mobile homes off of other people, and there has been the growth throughout the community where now you just have a manufactured home in like the middle of a neighborhood. Gerald in Texas is an example of that. I've seen some of them in like Blanco, where it's like, okay guys, it's kind of time to move on. Like there's no reason to buy a manufactured home when like every other home around you is with a permanent foundation. Like you're 3 miles from the downtown. Like what are we doing?
AGB's a walk away.
Yeah. I almost feel like maybe cities should do something about that from like a government standpoint. Like maybe give incentives to people that are like, hey, you have like one of the mobile homes that's like 3 miles from our town square now.
Build that in with T-Shack or something.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, what's the, they're always giving incentives. It's like, hey, we'll give you I don't know what the answer is. We'll give you some sort of incentive though to convert this to real property. Let's get this like 30-year-old mobile home off of this piece of land, and let's build an actual home here.
Get some growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, let's move the growth discussion into investing.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go over all the different types of investing you're seeing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll add some of my points.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there.
Types of investments I see right now, I mean, on a broad stroke, is, individuals that are investing in single-family residential. I'm seeing people that are obviously investing into multifamily residential. And then I don't personally do this, but I definitely run in circles of people who are investing in commercial. Anything that is over 4 units is considered commercial. I get that call all the time, like, hey, I want to invest in this like 8-unit residential property. It's like, that's like saying, like I always joke around jumbo shrimp, like shrimp is small. It's like, yeah, I get it. It's residential because people live there, but if it's over 4 units, it's commercial.
Have you heard of the company called Pad Split?
No.
Okay, so if you're in a non-HOA neighborhood, you got they usually require at least 4 bedrooms in the home, and they usually require 2.5 bathrooms.
Okay.
And they rent the rooms out.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yep.
It's great as an investor.
Right.
Because you just turned your single-family home into 4 doors,
Mm-hmm.
and you're paying as a conventional loan.
Yeah. Well, and we talked about it. Was it you and I that talked about what Austin's doing in terms of like changing those laws? I haven't gone to any of the town halls yet, but one of the new rules that they're trying to do is right now, and I never even knew this, but right now, if you have like a 3-2, like a 3-bed, 2-bathroom house, you cannot have more than 2 adults per room technically. So you can't have more than 6 people, adults, living in a 3-bedroom house. Children don't matter, right?
This makes sense.
Well, they're trying to increase that.
To what?
I don't know to what, but that is on the table for negotiating in regards to having more than 2 adults per room in a house.
So we got fraternity houses all over Austin?
They're trying to, it's all about affordability.
I get it.
So to your point with this, what'd you call it, Pad Split?
Yeah. Everyone, if no one's seen it before, go to padsplit.com and take a peek at it.
So when you said that, I immediately went to the idea of what if they like, I don't know, what if they make it 8? Or like it's 1.5 or 2.5 people now per room can like, so now if you have a 3-bedroom house, like you can have 8 adults in it. And I'm thinking of Pad Split with like you said, a fraternity house now. I live in a neighborhood without an HOA personally, where the majority of the houses are, 3-2s, and the possibility of an investor buying the house next to me and putting like 8 adults in it is insane.
Pad Split won't. They have some regulations, like you can't put more than 2 adults in each room.
Okay.
And you have your dedicated space just for you.
Mm-hmm.
So like comps in Austin, if you want to rent one of these per week, it's only like $180 a week.
Yeah, but is Pad Split doing that because that's the regulations mainly per city? And if Austin opens up the floodgates, Pad Split's going to turn around and be like, we could put 15 people in there.
They probably could.
It's crazy.
This is back to the sub 2 stuff.
Okay.
I learned from sub 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Creative.
Very creative. Okay, I'm gonna go into all the different portions of my creative stuff. And then we're gonna figure out if it doesn't work on the creative side, which is a rare scenario, and how you find these deals, how we get back to you.
Yeah,
because that's probably what's gonna happen.
It happens quite often.
Yes,
for sure.
My scenarios are gonna be your, I don't have exact percentage, but roughly 5 to 10% of the time.
Yeah.
But the other 90 to 95% will have to go through Matt. So seller financing, that's one option. Typically, it's going to be in a scenario where there's high equity. It's usually best if the home's paid off in full. They really need to sell the property. They can't take on any additional payments to the property, whether it's property taxes or whatever might be against liens against the property. They have to sell the property, and they're in a scenario where they have to financially obligated to sell a property. Seller financing, moving the deed out of their name and acting as the bank might be in their best interest. There's a lot of opportunities on this when there's homes that are listed on market for over 100 days, or if they're 100 days and then withdrawn or expired. There's a lot of opportunities as an investor to go in on these with very low interest rates and very minimal down payments, if depending on the scenario of the seller.
Yeah.
Then we have our subject twos, which is a whole different animal. Okay, there's a lot of risk involved with subject twos. So what a subject two is let's just say in this scenario, Matt is the seller, I'm the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Matt would never be a seller in this scenario.
No.
Okay, so Matt decides that he bought the home, let's say 6 months ago. He had some kind of loan that was 101% financing, like VA or USDA, or he even did 3% conventional, had 97% or 98% financing.
Mm-hmm.
And you end up finding you have a job relocation you have to do, but you know it's going to cost you more money to sell your home than it would be to do a subject to. And what's the reason behind that? You'll have minimal equity. You're going to have to pay your commissions to your real estate agents.
Yep.
You're going to have to pay for your title. Let's just say that that comes out to about $30,000 and you only have $15,000 of equity, plus you have title. So let's just say you have to stroke a check for $20,000. To avoid that scenario, you can do a subject to. What a subject to is I am going to be buying the property from Matt. The deed transfers to me. He keeps his loan in place. He gives me the information to pay off his current mortgage. I'm paying that mortgage directly, and we do not inform the lenders. And both parties have to sign off on that.
Yeah. Playing devil's advocate, what as the seller in this analogy, what's stopping me, or why wouldn't I just rent the property?
It's a great question, honestly.
Yeah.
Typically, it's because your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance are going to be too high and you won't cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
Then your debt-to-income ratio doesn't allow you to go purchase the next one.
Well, my debt-to-income ratio would allow me because I have the rental income in place and I can use that as income. But
what if
it doesn't cash flow?
What if your payment's like let me use a perfect scenario. I got a listing in Sunfield.
Mm-hmm.
Tax rate's like 2.9%.
Yeah.
Okay, he's paying like $17,000 in taxes.
Yep.
On a $450,000 home.
Right.
Okay, it's basically impossible to cash flow on that property unless you buy it with cash.
I would say, what's the negative cash flow though? I mean, are we talking a couple $100 a month?
Talking about probably minus $700 a month.
Yeah. And so in my like, so I look at the risk versus reward in the two scenarios, and let's face it, the only reason why anybody wants to purchase a property that's currently underwater is because they see the value in the future markets.
Correct.
Right? So if somebody who is doing this for a living comes to me and says, I want to purchase your property knowing that you owe more on it than what it's worth because I see value in the future market, that to me is a direct indicator that if that person who's doing this for a living, who is more experienced than me, sees value in the future markets, I should probably see value in the future market.
This goes back to our private conversations though.
Right. So if I'm like, well, I mean, everybody wants to save, right?
Yep.
And let's just you use the analogy, like if I'm $700 right now underwater per se on the payment, and I'm like, well, why not just treat that as like the $700 that I'm saving as like a savings account?
Because you can't afford to pay the $700 typically.
I mean, yes, you can, because the reason I was able to afford it was because I qualified for it with my bank.
But you bought another house.
But even if I buy another house, I mean, I can use the future rents. I'm negative $700. If the negative $700 is going to create an issue with me purchasing the new property, I guess if I really just have to have that new home, I'm going to take the risk of having somebody else make the payments that I'm responsible for. I mean, it's just a huge risk.
It's a huge risk.
In my opinion, right there, that's a keeping up with the Joneses situation. Like, the only reason why you're doing it is because you have a property that you want to buy, and we're even giving credit to the property that you currently own. There's future appreciation in this thing, so it's like that's just a short-term decision for a long-term disaster, in my opinion.
I'm going to be the pace Morby in this scenario, okay?
Yeah, please.
Well, you really want me to miss a payment, though.
Me? Well, no.
You take over possession of the property, the deed immediately.
Well, no, I can't, because I'm already signed off on it. I have no ownership, and the only person that can take over the possession immediately would be my bank.
Not what the subject to statement states. First thing that would be happening is if a missed payment happens, or on typical subject to forms,
Mhm.
first thing that happens is if a missed payment happens, deed does a basically a contract for deed back to you.
Yeah, no, it doesn't happen immediately, and I got to settle that in court. And meanwhile, my credit is
Okay.
effed because you
Yes.
just missed a mortgage payment, and the missing just
Yes.
public
Agreed.
service announcement.
Agreed.
You miss a mortgage payment, you're gonna crush your credit. So
Yes.
now I've got crushed credit. I have a legal document that states that the title transfers immediately, but the only way to do that is you, Pace, have to come to a title company with me and willingly sign off. And
Once,
we know that you're the busiest guy on the
unless you
planet.
say, hey, I'll pay for that notary.
Yeah, right. I hope so. And then I'm not saying that I couldn't legally make you do that, but it could take time. It will take money. And when it all settles out of court, yeah, I might come out of it not like crushed, but and those are the concerns. I mean, we deal with this in real estate. When people don't meet contract and they go after earnest money, right? And so like you collect, let's just say $2,000 worth of earnest money, and sadly, maybe somebody doesn't make right on their contract. A lot of times sellers don't go after that amount of money because the cost that's going to be associated with getting that earnest money isn't even worth it.
Correct.
And so same thing goes for this situation where it's like, well, it states if I miss a payment, the title immediately transfers back. Well, first of all, that requires a signature from the party who probably doesn't want to transfer title back right away. I do have a legally binding contract that I can hire an attorney for, drag you into court, do all of the things. Meanwhile, if you continue missing payments, I'm going to have to make those payments, or I'm going to really crush my credit, potentially even have a foreclosure.
I'm going to make it better.
All because I had to buy a new house because of the transfer of my job, because I couldn't wait while I rented the property, buy something within my means, turn around, sell this other property at a profit, which is exactly what these investors are. I mean, they're not fucking charities.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it for the future appreciation. Like, and if they see value in the future appreciation, why shouldn't you?
I agree. Maybe I gave a wrong example because typically
there is no right example.
No, there is. It's a sign of distress.
Well, here's the only time that I could see that a subject to works. And because I love playing devil's advocate. So here I will give you a scenario, and I'd like you to take the other side and tell me why you wouldn't do this. So if you are currently in a position where you own a home that is super outdated, let's just say it's even trashed, right? And the only way that this home is ever going to sell at an amount that you need to get because you have a loan on it is if there are home improvements that need to be made. So let's just keep the numbers very simple. You owe $500,000 on your property, and I'm using this number for math. I know those of you out here like someone with a $5,000 would never look. You have a $500,000 home that you owe on your property. That's what you owe right now in its current condition. It's only worth about $400,000 because it's trashed. It's maybe you're a hoarder. Maybe you haven't made a home improvement in 25 years. Like things are literally falling apart. And so getting what you need to pay off your loan is just not even feasible. So you have terrible credit, and I'm bringing that up because if you had good credit, you could get a rehab loan and you could rehab it yourself, but you can't because you have terrible credit, your income is low, and you're currently on the verge of missing payments.
Okay.
Maybe you've already missed payments. So now your credit is already in the toilet, right? You owe more on what your house is worth, and the only way to get you out from underneath it is through repairs. In that scenario, I can totally see how this makes sense because, and only because, the main reason that the subject to concerns me so much is because of the potential risk and liability of the payments not being made or something happening, because we all know things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll really hurt your credit, and it'll hurt you in the long run. But if you're in a situation with no money, underwater, and your credit's already effed, what do you have to lose?
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to lose? So in that scenario,
cash. That's it.
I mean, no, you don't. You have no cash to lose. There's no equity in this situation.
That's what I'm saying. You have cash to lose if you don't do it.
Well, no, you have no equity in this situation.
I get it, but I'm saying you're making payments on it.
Yeah.
You're losing cash.
Right. Well, no, I mean, that was my other part of my story is like, you're about to miss payments because you're like, I'm losing cash. I'm not even going to pay on this thing anymore. In that situation, I can see how getting out from underneath it, because doing a subject to is a quick fix. to basically wiping your hands of a really, really shitty situation that you're currently in, because the only other alternative is foreclosure, and that's going to take a whole hell of a lot longer than someone else just coming in and saying, "Hey, we're gonna take this all off of your hands," because you literally have nothing to lose. Your credit's already rocked. You have no money. You have no equity. Like,
You just explained a scenario I watched yesterday.
yeah, that right there is the only time. And so finding these situations, it's almost like you have to find somebody who, it's like finding a dead body, right? It's like, and what I mean by that is, like, it's not like finding a drowning person. Like, someone's drowning, you can throw them a lifesaver and save them. This is like finding a bloated dead body. Like, well, there's nothing we can do here. And so you're going to just basically take it and revive it. But it's already dead.
So there's three. So I've been watching, and I've noticed this too. There's 3 stages of foreclosure for a person. There's the oh shit stage. There's going to foreclose my house. Then there's going to be a few weeks in between where they just don't answer any phone calls. Nothing happens. Then you get to your final notice. Then that's when your desperation comes in, and that's when it's subject to you snag it.
Yeah, but again, if you have the equity in the property, you know, and this is the part that's a shame, because I literally talked to a client about 3 weeks ago who's currently in a lawsuit trying to fight some of these subject to situations, because he was in that. So he was awarded a house through estate. It was his mother's home. She died, and he basically like took over this home. He moves in. There's a small mortgage on the house, but the main thing for him was the taxes, right? So the payment on the taxes plus the small mortgage on the house was something like $2,500 a month. He couldn't afford it. The bank was saying, "Hey, you need to pay us." He's got tax liens. And instead of like calling somebody who is, in my opinion, looking out for his best interest, he finds somebody and they say, "Hey, we're going to take this off your hands. We're going to get you out of this situation." And, in fact, I think that this client I met through one of your reps. And so he was like, "Yeah, that sounds good." So he signs all this documentation. Well, then he starts telling friends and family about what he's doing. And a couple people are like, wait, what are you talking about? And the reason that this is an issue is because the liens on the property are like 150,000, and this house is worth like 500K. And so your agent wants to list this property, but he can't because the person he's dealing with doesn't own it. Right? He's living in it. He doesn't own it. And he's like, "Wait a minute, I'm confused." So now, so now they're like trying to go through these lawsuits and everything along those lines. And like, honestly, I don't even know where it is. Like, I try to help people, but I can't follow those stories. If there's nothing I can do, like, you're on your own. But he's trying to take these people back to court and say, "Look, like, this was predatory. Like, there's, $350,000 worth of equity into this property. Like, I could just sell this traditionally, pay off the bank, pay off my tax liens, and maybe walk away with a couple $100,000. But so to your point, like, he was in distress. He was getting final notices. And if a real estate agent would have connected with this gentleman early on, he would have been walking away with a 6-figure check.
Rough.
Yeah. And so the fact that there's people out there that are coming in as like white knights being like, "Let me take this off your hands," and not and that's what bothers me about the subject to thing. Like, there's the famous saying that the omission of facts is not a lie. Right? So the things that are being said on a lot of these like courses and all of this, and they're not lying. They're not lying. There's nothing that's being told that is like not true or false, or I guess I could argue maybe it's not even misleading. It's just not all the facts.
So I watched this one yesterday, and it was Pace. Okay, so guy was about to foreclose on his home. He was a truck driver, and he's like trying to get home to his daughter because he knew his daughter said there was something in the mail, whereas I don't notice. Now the guy's freaking out. Pace hops on the phone with the guy. He goes, "Hey, I want me to do this. I'll give," and I found out there was like 500,000 of equity in this property. Okay, he goes, "How will we do this? I'll write you a check for $25,000. I'll pay your first month and your last month's rent on your next apartment if we can acquire this property from you in the next 10 days. And we really want to help you out.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you're just like, dude.
Well, and so here's where like my devil's advocate rolls in. Like, I don't like, massive amounts of regulation. And I don't think that, there should be any kind of rule saying like, well, you can't sell your house for less than what it's worth.
Percentage-wise or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, if you're in dire straits and someone just wants to sell their house and they don't give a shit, but like to not educate somebody on what their house is worth or to even convince them that like the equity in their property is already gone because they're in maybe a pre-foreclosure state or in the process of foreclosure.
When they're sitting on thousands of equity.
Right. I don't think that's okay. And then even furthermore, like the idea of this is where I like, there's been a lot of heat on real estate agents. I mean, real estate agents wholeheartedly, when they connect with you and they want to, we talk about commissions, right? Well, your real estate commissions are based on how much they can sell your property for. And everybody looks at commission like
typically.
Right. Well, okay. And everybody looks at like commission and profit to the realtor is like a bad thing. Well, you've got guys calling saying like, oh, we're going to cut out the commissions. We're going to do all of these things because it's in their best interest to to acquire your property for as little as possible. So like it's like a look over here, look at these bad real estate agents, look at these guys that are profiting on selling your home. When in reality, in all of the scenarios that we're talking about, if you would have sat down with a real estate agent, like this guy, for example, or even in my scenario, it's like, yeah, I'm going to sell your house. Yeah, I'm going to charge you to do it. And you're going to walk away with $200,000. Whereas in this other scenario where this person came in, with I'm the guardian angel.
You got $25,000 in first month's.
25 grand in first month. It's just, put it on the open market, man. I mean, I think that's the moral of the story. If you're going to sell your house, I don't care what scenario you're in, put it on the open market and see what people will pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, don't just, and that goes back to, we talked about like FSBOs and stuff, No one's trying to like keep it off the open market so that they can save money on commissions. They're trying to keep it off the open market so that they can make more money by eliminating commissions. They're not selling it for less than what they normally would.
Is it worth telling the public what the wholesale formula is?
I like so we talked about this last night, and like if you're putting it out there to a seller and they look at it and they go, Matt, honestly, I know I'm selling this house for less than what I normally could, but I just don't care. I'm just over it. Great. I mean, I've sold things, I'm into instruments, right? I'm a musician. I have sold certain instruments that I look back on because I wasn't playing them. It's not easy to sell instruments, to be quite honest. You have to find somebody who really wants it. And I have sold instruments for wildly under what the price that they're valued at is because they take up space and I just want to be done with them. And so, but if somebody were to come to me and say, hey, we want to buy this guitar, and like, I'm like, well, what do you think it's worth? And, they're telling me, they're doing me a favor. Like, and this is, I mean, I can't even compare musical instruments to your fucking house. So anyway, go ahead and tell the formula, but I'm not against it as long as they're aware of it.
Okay. So let's use 500,000 as the market value for the price.
So we find a house.
Mm-hmm. Let's just say I'm the wholesaler in this scenario. I don't really wholesale that much.
Yeah.
Okay. But let's just say I was. I would go to the person and say, all right, your market value of the home is $500,000.
Today, it's worth $500K, as is.
Yep. But I'm going to multiply that by 0.75, so 75%.
Right. Yeah,
okay?
We're going to take a 25% whack off of what the market value is.
Okay, then we're at 375.
Yep.
Now a wholesaler is going to put in his cost for the time that he's been putting in, usually at $10,000 to $25,000. So let's go 15. $15,000. That's called an assignment fee or a novation fee. Now we're at $360,000. Okay. What a wholesaler would do is he would offer you $360,000 if no repairs were needed. If a repair was needed, he would then put that into it. So let's just say there's 20,000 repairs needed. Now we're at 340,000. So the cash offer, I'll write you today, right? We can close in 10 days. Whether or not you're in an HOA or not, we'll speed up the HOA docs and get it as fast as possible. You'll have $340K cash in your hand in the next 10 days.
Right.
Unless there's a payoff.
So I have no problem with that formula as long as you are explaining to the homeowner the current market value of their property.
It's like option 4.
I would envision if I were a fly on the wall in the majority of these negotiations, this is the way that it goes. It goes, here's your property. Based on everything that I have to do, sell it, my money that I have to make, I'm going to make you a cash offer for $340,000. Do you know the difference between what you did and what I just did? I didn't explain to you that current market value of your property today, it would list for $500K.
Yep.
And the sad part is the people who are, in my opinion, falling for this are not the people who just bought their house, because they just bought their house. So they have a relative idea of what their home is worth because they just bought it. It's the guy or gal that bought their house 10 years ago, paid $200,000 for it. It's currently worth $500,000. And by your math, without telling me what my house is worth, I'm going to make $140K. And so some would argue, well, Matt, do you want to like regulate this and that? I don't know. But what I do know is I am not about the life of anybody saying something like, well, if they're stupid enough to do it. I don't like that. I don't like that. I see situations all the time where people are profiting on, you know, you could say it with cars. Like if I find an old man who bought his 54 Ford Fairlane and he's had it now for 40 years, he's kept it clean and everything like that. And in his mind, because he doesn't keep up on the average cost of what his car is worth, he bought it for $5,000 at 54. Now the car's worth like $70,000. Is it okay for me to go to that old man and say, hey, old man,
Give you 10,000.
I'll give you 10,000. I know you're down on your luck, and this car is all you've got. Like, some would say, hey, if this guy doesn't do the work to know what his car is worth, then he's an idiot. And if somebody's going to capitalize on his stupidity, then, shitty for the old guy.
Okay, I will give you a counterpoint to that. And this is
Yeah.
where I fall on the ethics side of it. If you're a professional in that industry of what that sales happening,
Mhm.
then it's a completely different scenario. You have to be ethical. You have to explain the market value. You have to go through the entire process with them. If you're trying to just buy something off Craigslist and it's negotiations, it's not your profession.
Right.
I think that's a little different.
Yeah. Well, and I think the difference between
no, I'm not going to try to screw the guy out of almost 80% of his actual market value.
But hang on, let's stop right now. If it's on Craigslist, it's currently listed, right?
It doesn't have to be. No, they changed. That's a Pace Morby thing. Okay, Pace Morby's F-150 story. Okay.
Well, no. I'm saying it's listed on some form. Like I am in the process of selling.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So if I'm in the process of selling, other people that are interested in buying are aware of it.
Yes.
And what has been explained to me is the majority of these situations, these individuals are not currently in the process of selling. They haven't put their property on open market. And that's why it becomes I know you're in a tough spot. If we do this today, this is how it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. Because again, if somebody was in dire straits and they were like, I guess I'll just list it at 250, and it's not like listed on the MLS, but it's like, even if they put a sign in their yard, even if they have a for sale by owner, no advertisement, and someone goes, see, you're selling your home today, sir. What would you like for it? And he goes, I don't know. I think like 250. And you go, this fucking house is worth $500K. In that situation, I get it. You're selling. You know what? This guy has no idea what his house is worth, but it was his idea to sell, not mine. That is not what is happening in these situations.
I agree, 100%.
You're going to people that are not selling their home. And that's the gotcha moment. That's the sad part. That is the got you moment. And that's the whole and it is always cash offer today. And I'm going to do this for you. And I'm going to do that for you. And I would even envision that there's probably some early decision incentives that are associated with it, that are like, and if you don't do this today and you call me tomorrow, here's the price tomorrow.
So you actually know a guy, we both know a guy who does this. Recently introduced you to him.
Yep.
Okay. I listened to a few of those calls and what they sound like. Okay. I'm going to just give you the exact call. You're the seller. Okay.
Ring, ring.
Okay. Hey, this is Matt Kemp's, John, let me know you're potentially considering selling your property at 123 Main Street. Is that correct?
Well, if I was selling it, it wouldn't meet the things that I'm talking about. So the answer, I mean, no, I'm not in the. So in this situation, am I?
No, because you reached out to John.
Information. So I asked for information about
Yeah.
potentially selling my property.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, sure. I'm interested in selling my property.
John let me know. John's my assistant.
I see.
Okay. You reached out to us.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, if I reached out to you, sure.
Okay. John, hey, John let me know you're potentially considering selling your property. So I've run some numbers on your property, and just based off everything we're looking at, and I want to let you know you have no cost out of your pocket to sell. Okay. We're going to just basically give you a number, and we're going to write you a check, and that's exactly what it's going to be. You're not have to pay for any commissions. You don't have to pay for any title. You don't have to pay for any survey. We're going to just write you a check on this number. Does that sound good with you?
I love it.
Okay, great. We can write you a check based off the numbers we ran. We can write you a check today for $340,000. Does that work for you?
I mean, again, to me, this situation, I have no problem with it.
Really?
Because
Okay.
I requested information about selling my home.
Okay.
Right?
So what you don't like is the drive around for deals scenario. You look for distress, knock on door. Hey, I'd be happy to write you an offer for $340,000 today. What does that sound like to you?
Right, exactly.
With
And
no
the reason, because at that point I haven't educated. Because if I'm requesting information about selling my home, then in my opinion, it is your responsibility to have an idea of what you would be willing to sell for.
Mhm.
And the internet is available to everybody.
Yep.
Real estate agents, with all due respect, are a dime a dozen.
Mhm.
So if you have made the conscious decision to sell, and you end up underselling your property, well, then that's on you. And I mean, that scenario that you just described is not what I like, what grinds my gears about wholesaling and all of that kind of stuff.
The grind your gears is the blind go into it, not requesting information, and just, hey, here's your number. If we get it done today, let's do it.
Right. And
Yeah,
especially when
okay.
it's a distressed situation. And because let's face it, if I'm in a foreclosure situation and I'm panicked and like, first of all, and this is going to come across as like just me being an asshole, but it is what it is. Like if you're in a foreclosure situation and you're like, you clearly have made some mistakes and you might not be the most educated person on real estate. Just saying, just fucking saying, like you're behind on your mortgage. And someone comes to me and is like, hey, we're going to fix this for you. Like they're not even like thinking about selling. And I'm coming to them with this like solution that is not the best solution because they clearly have done no research. They weren't even thinking of selling. They thought that they were about to lose their house.
So you're good with the subject twos that are like 150 days on market. Now they're stressing out their scenario.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm totally fine with that. And I would say I think you're really stupid to, it's not so much the subject twos. I mean, we're talking about two different things here. Like if I hate the idea of convincing somebody to sign off on the ownership of their home while maintaining their mortgage. I cannot get behind that in any capacity. However, the other side of it, of what I would consider to be quote unquote predatory in convincing someone to sell their house for well under market value. Look, if they're on the property for 120 days and they have their property listed at a specific amount and it is not selling, and someone comes in and says, hey, we're going to buy your property and relinquish you of the actual responsibility of the mortgage and take you off of title, and we're going to do it for way under market value. If that seller says, great, I'm still making good money, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. I mean, like I said, I gave my musical instrument scenario. Like, I wouldn't expect somebody when I'm selling my guitar and I'm like, yeah, I'll give it to you for $100. And they don't have to say, Matt, that thing's worth at least 300. I'm like, I just don't care. Right. Like if I'm selling it, like I have done some research, and if I haven't, then shame on me.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean, these other situations of the one that we talked about in terms of the distress, people who aren't selling, and then convincing somebody that you're helping them by taking them off of title and relinquishing ownership but maintaining financial responsibility is really messed up in every situation, other than if you are already rocked on your credit, have no money, and you are underwater. I guess, what do you have to lose?
Okay.
Thoughts?
I agree. I 100% agree. But on the flip side, if I have a buyer who wants to go do it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, as long as you're like, you understand, like, I start missing payments or die or whatever, and, they're like, man.
I went over the disclosures on it that the attorneys drafted up for this. Like one of the items is both parties agree to not notify lender.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't think these subject twos are long for this world. I'm just gonna say it. I think that these are becoming. I mean, we're talking about it on a podcast. You've got investors that are talking about it on, YouTube and TikTok. You've got bros that are like, I'm going to buy houses with no money, everybody else's money. And not only are they doing it, they're not keeping quiet. They're beating their chests about it. Like, it's only a matter of time. I'm waiting for some attorney with a wild hair up his ass, kind of just what is happening with NAR. Like, and you're going to start seeing lawsuits and you're going to start seeing regulations.
Real quick, I want to jump into some formulas just that everyone can have.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm pretty sure we all know how to figure out our net operating income, but that's going to be your gross income minus your total expenses. If we want to do cap rate, that's going to be we have to calculate the net operating income. We're going to divide that by market value, multiply that by 100%, then you get a cap rate. When we use cap rates, that's usually going to be on the investment side of things. In Austin, we got a 3 to 5% cap rate on average. If you got above 5%, let's pull trigger almost every single time, and we're running the offer up. 70% rule, it's the home purchase price divided by your ARV. ARV stands for after repair value, multiplied by 100%. And this is usually used when you're doing some home flipping scenarios. 1% rule, that's going to be your monthly rental income divided by the property's value. So if you're trying to identify a rental property, let's say you're purchasing a property that's $200,000, that rental income needs to be at least $2,000. I actually like to go a little bit in further depth than that. Let's say, for example, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance was $1,000. It's not going to be, but let's just say it is. Well, it could. Depends on how much money you put down. No, it still wouldn't be with taxes. But your rental income would have to be, Your rental income will have to be $1,000. Your principal, interest, and taxes will have to be $800 to make sure there's a 20% gap there. And that is a 20% rule. Got anything else?
No, I mean, I got a couple of our what ifs to close it out. I know we're short on time.
And I got some bets.
Okay, what do you want to start with?
Let's go with the bets. Let's run through them really quick, okay?
I'm ready.
Lone Wolf Kitchen, starting now. We're going to do college. Kansas State, ranked 25th versus Kansas, 16. Line open at 6.5. Currently 6.5, Kansas State.
I'm going, who's the Jayhawks?
Jayhawks is Kansas.
I'm going Jayhawks.
Okay, we're on opposite sides here.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to just do this, okay? Because I don't have a pen. All right, Georgia, ranked number 2. Tennessee, 13. Opened at minus 8.5. Georgia, it's now minus 7.5.
Tennessee.
No chance. Okay. I'm on Georgia. Washington ranked 5th. Oregon State ranked 12th. Line opened at minus 2. It's currently at minus 2.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, that's a really hard one.
I like Oregon State.
We're on opposites again. I'm on Washington. Okay. Texas ranked number 7 versus Iowa State. Opened at minus 11. Currently minus 11. Texas.
Texas.
Bingo. Okay, so now we're going to be okay. All right, now we're at NFL. Okay, 49ers minus 3, Jags plus 3. Line opened at 49ers minus 1.
Wow. I'll take the 49ers.
I got Jags. Okay.
You like the spread?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a perfect, probably push.
Okay.
Especially when you see a line move of 2 points. All right, let's go Browns plus 6. Ravens minus 6. Opened at Browns plus 3. I know what you're taking here. You don't want to take it.
I know. I feel like I have to take the Ravens.
Okay, I'm on the Browns.
I feel like that. Yeah. Okay.
All right, Houston plus 6.5. Cincy minus 6.5. Opened at plus 9.5. We got 3-point spread here.
What's Cincy minus again?
6.5.
Oh, I haven't been paying attention to Houston.
They're kind of good.
Really?
Yeah.
I got to go with at least one Ohio team. I'll go Cincy.
Okay, I'm on Houston.
All right.
So the only thing we're together on right now
Texas.
is Texas. Okay. Yeah. All right. Cowboys minus 16.5. This opened at 5.5. 11-point jump. Okay.
Why?
I guess so much money on the Cowboys that they had to create some spread.
Okay.
I can tell you I am going to take Giants plus 16.5. They're horrible, though.
Yeah, I know.
I just think they can cover by a point and a half or two.
Nah, I'm going with Cowboys.
Okay, we're on opposites except for Texas. All right, let's go some questions.
I'll just do one.
Okay.
And I looked at all of these, and I'm going to combine them into kind of one question because this is one of the ways that I personally have invested in real estate. So, would you rather invest in a home that is currently in a neighborhood that is up and coming, as far as like growth regarding commercial, shopping, all of that kind of stuff, has infrastructure, but has horrible school systems?
Okay.
Or invest into a community that is already established, great school systems, pretty much has everything already put together, but you're paying top dollar for that property, and appreciation is basically, slightly slow because no one moves. So basically, are you investing in South Austin or Westlake?
Yeah, exactly. There's so much.
That was a good one, right?
Really good. And I have the cash.
Sure.
I'm probably gonna buy like 4 or 5 doors in South Austin.
Yeah. Well, I think the upside in the crappy school system but booming area is way better in the long run.
And gentrification.
Right. I mean, I think, but it's long-term upside versus like you're getting everything you want. It's like used car, new car. Like who likes a used car better than a new car?
Yeah.
Right? But you're losing on a new car, but you got everything you want.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, South Austin.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. All right, man. We'll wrap it up. I know we're short on time. Cool. Go ahead and finish up your call to action that we do at the end. We'll shut it down.
Perfect. Again, I'm Matthew Kemps with Lone Wolf Realty Group at Spyglass Realty. If you're looking to buy, sell, invest, whatever it might be in the Austin, Texas area, please feel free to reach out to us. Numbers will be here. Calendar link is down below. Email is down below. Basically, any kind of content information you need from us will be located in the description. And then, Matt, I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah, Matt Kirschling, Gold Star Mortgage. I mean, based on this episode, I really, within reason, gosh, I hope I'm not, going to hurt myself here, but within reason, would love to talk to anybody who is, intrigued by these investment things and is like, Matt, what you were talking about, I've seen the videos. Like, again, I like having these conversations. And if you are serious about investing, meaning you have the money, you are really doing this, I would love to connect with you.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.